Hello, this is Adam in Mannheim, Germany again, and I'm responding to the question of whether language learners should only be exposed to the forms they are taught. The question doesn't necessarily have a black or white answer in the fact that either yes, students should only be exposed to the forms they are taught, or no, they should not be exposed to only those forms. The issue comes into play because when you are learning a language, especially if you are living in that country where you are learning that language, you can't help but avoid being exposed to things that you're not necessarily taught. From my own experience living in Germany and studying German at the moment, I could stick with just the things that I learned in German classes, but it would be increasingly difficult to avoid things that are not in those classes. I have to go to the grocery store, I have to go out in the community, I have to ride the train in the town that I'm living in, and to do that, I need to be exposed to things that are not taught in German class, or have not been taught in German class as of yet. However, if I were to be exposed to too much, it would make it increasingly difficult to retain some of the things that I've already learned. So this issue came up many times as a teacher in a high school in America, an English teacher. The problem was especially evident when I would teach grammar. Now, oftentimes I would bring in a grammar lesson that I wanted the students to focus on, but we would get sometimes sidetracked by other issues related to that particular lesson. Not that that is necessarily a bad thing, but it could at times result in students being unable to focus on the specifics of what I wanted them to be paying attention to. They would lose out on the sort of focus of the lesson and would eventually leave the classroom without much understanding of it. That in itself is an issue when you are trying to build up a sort of base of knowledge when it comes to, say, grammar. Trying to explain how to use a comma properly is an essential part of written grammar, but it can lead to many different types of questions. What about a comma with this conjunction, or what about a comma in this situation? And it can be too overwhelming for students. They forget the sort of essential lesson that you wanted. However, you can't avoid students being exposed to things beyond the lesson. There are many times where some of the best lessons we would have is when a student would come in with something that they had experienced or seen out beyond the classroom. It was unavoidable. They were living, breathing human beings who were beyond my purview, and I certainly did not have the capacity or the capabilities to limit their exposure to just the lesson that I had set forward. So I had to accept that at times I would have to bring in or incorporate things they had learned outside of the classroom or outside the lesson. So it has to be both. It can't be just one or the other, because you cannot physically limit the amount of things students are exposed to beyond your lesson. However, you can't incorporate everything. That is too much. A student will become overwhelmed. So you have to know when to incorporate things that they're exposed to, or when to not incorporate it. So in that case, the teacher's really only power is to sort of regulate how what they are exposed to comes into play in the classroom. Thank you very much. I hope everybody has a wonderful week.